right, guys. We are getting the live stream going here for sure. And like I said, this is behind the scenes view, and we're just getting things set up. So we're going to give everybody a chance. Right now, we're streaming to multiple platforms. We got YouTube, Periscope, 3 different Facebook groups, LinkedIn, and Twitch is a new platform. And right now, I got multiple phones here, so I'm going to connect Instagram because that's the one that I can't connect through the normal streaming platform. So we got to do that with the phone. So let me connect that right now. And while we're doing that, how's the audio? I'd say give us some feedback on the audio here. And all right, so I'm going to connect. Here we're connecting live on Instagram now. I got the phone set up. So really cool stuff, man. So this is behind the scenes. And do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just got my mic all set up. So is it all good from you too?
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Amazing.
Let me actually drop a question to the audience and see. They said I can hear you. So there's Edwin just said, and Alex said I can hear you. So that's awesome. And Andreas, how's it going? So yeah, this is behind the scenes view. So I'd say, while we're getting things started, if you guys have any questions for myself or Noah especially, be sure to drop some questions in the meantime. And then as we go through the podcast recording, we can bring those questions up and go through answering them. So drop your questions here. All right, cool. And let's see what else we got going on. So for those of you on Instagram, and I have to just mention this, Instagram, if you want to see the screen, because we do have screen sharing that's going on YouTube and Facebook, you could check it out there. So it's Tech Money Talks / YouTube, and you guys could check everything out there. All right, man. So let's see here. Let me pull up my notes. Because in the podcast, what we do, we go through the live intro. So a lot of these intros are live in between. So I put the introduction together. And also what I use is Zoom. So we're connected via Zoom right now, and I connect the recording. And for a couple of reasons, and especially for those interested in podcasting, it creates separate audio channels. So if my channel's too loud or maybe Noah's is too loud or whatever, we can balance it out. So it creates separate audio channels so we could do that. And the Zoom recording is a really good feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick off the recording on Zoom. And we are recording. Okay. So then I get in the zone here. So I get myself in the zone and get all pumped up and excited for you guys on the podcast here. All right. Hey, everybody. Brian McCumber here with Tech Money Talks. I am really excited today because we have an awesome podcast today. We are fortunate to have Noah Tucker as a returning featured guest on the show. And for those of us in e-com, you should know who Noah is because he has been on the scene in the e-com industry and is one of the most popular podcast episodes on Tech Money Talks. If you guys caught it, it was a finale 2019 podcast featured guest episode, and the title was The Christmas Gift That Made Him $50,000 the Next Month. Now, a multi-million-dollar dropshipper providing drop shipping automation as a service. If you're interested in starting an online business to make extra money, you better save this episode in your back pocket and listen to it over and over again because the stories and the tips you're going to learn here will give you the opportunity to quickly launch your own business to help your wallet grow fat. Noah continues to raise the bar, and he's been keeping it real. This brother's been keeping it real, and he's been a keynote speaker at major events, and I tell you, time is money, and everyone's looking to get a piece of his time, and I'm so happy to have him on the show today. Noah, how's it going, man? How you doing?
It's going great, Brian. Thanks so much for having me again. Last time was a lot of fun, so I'm excited.
Yeah, we had a great conversation for sure. It went a long time. I mean, I felt like we could talk for hours, And right now, as far as something new, and actually, before we get things started, I've been doing this as well, is to give a perspective, and that's kind of the reason why we're doing the live stream for those that are catching this live, but even for those that catch the audio podcast, because it goes through editing and they may not catch it until like anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks out. So to
Right.
give time perspective for everybody, today is May 7th. We're still going through this global pandemic, the financial recession, the country's trying to open up, and all these things that are going on. So there's a whole bunch of things to talk about. So just to give perspective of the day and time of where we're talking from, because I tell you, man, times have changed. I mean, stuff, a conversation from like a month or two ago doesn't make sense anymore, in today's terms. So a lot of things have changed. And I think that can lead us into our conversation, but maybe for the audience, give a quick introduction about yourself, and then we'll let the conversation take us from there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been like you were talking about, I've been in the dropshipping game for about 3 years now. So I've seen a lot which has been really cool, mainly just because I've been able to see a lot of shifts and changes in patterns with how things have been going, mostly with like Facebook ads. And I think like with the virus going on right now and everything, that's definitely the biggest impactor of how trends have been affected recently, not just with products, but with like, we could talk a lot about the CPMs and how that's changed recently with Facebook. But yeah, I mean, I've been dropshipping for 3 years, so I've really seen so many different things come into play, and like this virus has definitely been the biggest impact on like every aspect of e-commerce all at once, because businesses are changing so fast right now. Like businesses that are relying heavily on brick and mortar are now forced to go online, and the ones that are not able to go online are failing, and the ones that are successfully going online are realizing how much easier and more efficient they could operate online. And those are the businesses that are going to survive this whole pandemic. And the ones that are attempting to go online and are failing or not able to utilize the different online tools we have available to us to be successful online, those are the ones that aren't making it, which is just crazy to see happen right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember from our last conversation that, I mean, I really enjoyed it because I mean you had a really good perspective looking at the data, the trends, and even the stuff related to what you're doing to automation. So it has, for me, it has a lot of questions, what's changed and how has it evolved in this space for sure. But I would say, before we dive into that, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, and I think this will help a lot of people, because right now, I'd say, there's a lot of people now looking to get into a space of online
Yeah,
business, looking to
because so
find
many
their.
people have lost their jobs recently. Like the unemployment rate in the US is almost like 50% or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, now people are looking to get that side hustle, and as far as e-commerce goes and online business, I mean, the trends are like more people are buying online than ever
Exactly.
before, and so before we get into all that stuff, I mean, there's so many things to talk about. But this number one question that I think will help out a lot of people that are looking right now. So this
Yeah.
question here is: imagine you had a couple $1,000s to your name, and in these current times, if you had to start all over again, but knowing what you know now, what would you do over the next 30 days to start your business that would actually make you money, and explain why?
Well, that's a really good question. And the perfect time to answer a question like that or to act on something like that is right now, because like you were saying before, like we were just talking about, the trend is all moving digital right now. And it's really interesting. I consider it almost like the natural selection of the business world right now, because the businesses that were always, operating in old fashioned ways or just like relying heavily on brick and mortar, like I was saying before, everyone's forced to at least attempt to go online right now. The ones that are successfully moving online are thriving, and the ones that are attempting to go online and it's not really working out, they're failing, and they're going to completely, go out of business eventually and no longer exist. So my point being, right now is the greatest time you could ever get involved in online business for who knows, how long anything, this was such a random thing to happen, everything with this virus. So who knows if anything like this could ever happen again, where businesses are so forced to be online. But on top of that, everyone's staying at home right now because half the world is in quarantine. So online shopping is up a ton. and big advertisers that spend a lot on Facebook traditionally, or other advertising platforms that us e-commerce entrepreneurs use, they're pulling back ad spend because they have to cut back on all expenses. They're firing people. They're, all their revenue streams are getting all messed up from the virus because they're not a solely online business. But with e-commerce, it is a solely online business. So e-commerce spenders are able to increase their spend and reach more people for cheaper, because all these big advertisers that Facebook was traditionally relying on have had to pull back so much spend that it's literally easier and cheaper to reach more people on Facebook. So, I mean, that's just why it's a great time to get started. But to answer your question, I would say, so obviously the name of the game with e-commerce and dropshipping specifically is just following trends. We talked about that a lot in our in the previous podcast. So right now, there's a lot of products that trending specifically because of the virus. And I'm not just talking about personal protection equipment. I'm talking about things people are doing to keep themselves occupied at home. People are more likely to invest in a really cool audio system, or like sound system for their house right now, because everyone's sitting at home listening to music. People are more likely to invest in like really cool lighting for their room, because right now everyone's spending so much time just sitting in the room watching Tiger King on Netflix. People are much more likely to invest in home workout equipment right now, because the gyms are closed and people still want to get their workouts in. So people are buying like those ab roller machines and pull-up bars and stuff like that, and the rubber bands that you could like put behind the door and stuff like that. Like any home workout equipment is selling really hot right now. So this first step I would do would be to pick a product along those lines, something that, because sales are higher right now for all products online pretty much, but something that is definitely going to be way higher right now because of everything that's going on with the virus. That would be the first step I would do. The second step is I would do a lot of homework on how to properly build a really nice website, because that's obviously super important. If you have a really poorly designed website, it doesn't matter if you have the greatest product in the world. People are going to get to your website and be like, wait, this doesn't look right, or there's typos here, or it just looks sloppy and unprofessional. That's obviously something you have to avoid. So, I mean, there's so much free value on YouTube to learn how to build a beautiful website on Shopify. I mean, Shopify already makes it as easy as possible. It's literally the most user-friendly platform in the world. Drag and drop, everything is pretty much done for you. But that being said, everyone is using Shopify to build websites. So you definitely want yours to be better than the average. So you want to stand out. So I would just definitely recommend YouTube to go and build a nice website on Shopify. And then to source the product, I've been using ZenDrop a lot recently. My good buddy and business partner, Jared Getz, he's actually the founder of ZenDrop. But it's a great platform for sourcing products. I know a lot of people have been dealing with like really bad shipping times and stuff recently because of all the supply chain things that got messed up from the virus. So ZenDrop would be where I would source the product if I were starting from scratch. And it's dropshipping. It's basically like Oberlo, but it fulfills the product automatically. So you don't have to like hire a virtual assistant to go in and click fulfill, or have an AliExpress tool like plugin go and fill in the customer's information. AliExpress, it kind of just handles all that stuff for you. It works directly with the suppliers and ships it right to the customer. So that's where I would source the product. And then as far as traffic, Facebook ads, obviously, as you know, Brian, have always been my bread and butter. So I would definitely recommend using Facebook to drive traffic to your store. But that being said, you need to know what you're doing if you're running Facebook ads. And if like you were saying, starting out with $2,000 or $3,000, you don't want to you could blow that money in less than a day, theoretically, if you wanted to, and not get a single store visitor if you didn't know what you were doing. So I would say definitely do a lot of homework on Facebook. Again, there's so many courses out there and a lot of them are great, but there's so much more free value on YouTube. I always recommend to people who are starting out and don't have big budgets, just go on YouTube. There's even I go on YouTube all the time to learn new things about Facebook ads. If there's, a new concept I want to learn. Just a few days ago, I wanted to really get good at learning automated rules on Facebook, which basically can scale back your campaigns for you. I really wanted to learn that. So I went on YouTube, I watched like 2 videos and I just got a concept for it, set it up in Facebook, and it's already starting to work. So my point being is no matter what level you are, there's usually a YouTube video to teach you what you're trying to learn. So watch a bunch of YouTube videos on Facebook ads, understand some of the main concepts, and then start with really low budgets. Spend like $10 to $50 a day. See the results you get. Don't keep running ads that aren't working. If something specific isn't working, try to find the point in your funnel where traffic is dropping off, optimize that, relaunch the ads, and keep playing around with that until you figure something out. And then again, you could always go back to YouTube and keep relearning. But if you have $2,000 to $3,000 and obviously everyone has time right now because we're all stuck in quarantine anyway, this is really the perfect time to go out there and make it happen.
Really good. Yeah. Yeah. And listening to you, yeah, you broke it down into like a 4-step process pretty much. As I caught the first one,
Yeah.
which is, picking a product. Second one, you said build the site. Third, which is, use product sourcing, and you would use Zen Drop. And then
Zendrop, yeah.
fourth, which was, Facebook ads. And then you talked about, where you can learn the latest strategies there. In that, I had some questions along the way. This is really good stuff.
For sure.
So for the audience, I like that you touched on the topic of, building the website, but, making sure the spelling and the look and feel, because I think a lot of customers definitely, look to see, is it trustworthy? Is it a trustworthy place
Of
to
course.
buy from? And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, there's so many people that build dropshipping stores and just do you could just tell when someone puts in time and makes a store professional. And I'm not a graphic designer by any means. I'm not, a coder by any means. I don't know, I'm not like an expert at this stuff, but there's a very noticeable difference between someone who puts in time to make something look professional and to someone who just whips up a store as quick as they can just to launch a product as fast as they can. There's a noticeable difference. And like when you, as a consumer, you have to put yourself in the consumer's shoes. When they see a store that looks like a professional store, like any of the other online stores that they go on, like Macy's or Walmart or whatever stores, bigger stores people are shopping on, you could always tell the difference between a store that's just well done and a store that's not well done. And Shopify gives you all the tools you need to create a well done store. And I'm not saying that your store has to look like Macy's. Sorry, I'm getting FaceTime. I'm not saying that your store has to look like Macy's. I'm just saying if you put in the effort and everything, obviously things as silly as typos are, you can't be doing anything like that, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about mainly just like the layout, design of it and everything. You can always tell the difference between someone who really put in the effort and made a nice looking store compared to someone who just threw something together. And if you don't know what a nice looking store should look like, just go to any big online retailer, Macy's. That's just the first thing that came to my head, but any big online store, look at their product page, look how they lay out the information. They usually have FAQs on there. They have, trust badges, just everything that makes a consumer feel like this is a trustworthy store to shop from, because people are very scared to shop online nowadays, but people are forced to shop online nowadays. So they're going to do it. They're going to buy the product online. The question is it going to be your store or a competitor's store? So the way to make it your store that the people end up shopping from is to take that extra step and make everything look professional.
Yeah, really good explanation, and hopefully the audience is catching this for sure, because it's a reason why Noah brought this up, and it's a reason why I wanted to highlight this, because engagement, all the shoppers out there, I mean, just for the shopper to engage, you only have a few seconds just to get their attention, and then if they get to your site and your store, it's a number of seconds before they decide, hey, does this kind of sketchy or is it trustworthy? All it takes is one misspelled word or something to throw them off. So, what Noah's trying to say is like, okay, you don't have to be a professional designer, leverage the templates, which actually look clean and good, but do your due diligence, proofread, spell check, all those basic things that anybody can do, put in that extra effort, because all it takes is just one word misspelled or something looks out of place or something looks sketch, and boom, you lost a sale because you didn't take those extra efforts. Would you say so?
Exactly. And one thing you could do too, as far as layout, there's a Shopify app. I believe it's called Sections Anywhere. I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure it's called Sections Anywhere. I don't remember if it's free or not, but I don't think it's expensive if it's not. And it basically allows you to add sections that you could traditionally only add to the homepage of Shopify on any page. So a product page, you could add sections that you'd only be able to add on the homepage.
That's
and
huge.
That is, yeah. And that's something that we use a lot that makes our stores look way more professional, because
so you can add that to product pages? You're saying
Exactly, because usually on the theme they give you like a ton of really cool sections, but you could only add them to the homepage. And what if you want the FAQ to be on the product page, or whatever section? It could literally just be like an image layout that looks really clean and professional that you traditionally only have on the homepage. Well, now with this app, you could add it to any page. So that's just another way to help.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a really good tip for sure. And I'm trying to think. I think I remember hearing about that, but yeah, I mean, being able to make it easier to customize, the product landing page is huge because you don't have the same flexibility as you do on the home page, but
Exactly.
it would be awesome on the product page. So that's a really good tip for the audience, and it's a way to differentiate and to stand out and add more trust factor to it. Really good tip. Thanks for sharing that. And to get to your third point, the Zen drop, I think this is really cool because I've noticed this pattern too. There's a lot of shoppers that are concerned about products shipping from China. And I
Right.
think they're concerned for a couple of reasons. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that.
So, I mean, unfortunately, right now, like shipping is long from China, and there's like really no way around that. And like, who knows how long this is going to last? Like, maybe by the time this podcast airs, honestly, it might be back to normal. Like, really, who knows? But right now, there's way less planes flying back and forth from China, and also PPE, any personal protection equipment like masks or gloves or gowns or anything like that, is being prioritized and is getting shipped out way faster than anything else. So things that have nothing to do with helping fight this virus are not a big priority for these Chinese distributors. So even with Zendrop, which is still what I use for a lot of my stores, even using that, like that definitely makes it quicker because it auto fulfills, which means just like you won't get back, the orders won't get backed up because as soon as a customer places an order, it's automatically charged from your card. The difference, like obviously the price that you pay for the supply from the supplier, and then it goes into the queue to be shipped out.
Hmm.
But that being said, it's still, 15 to 25 days shipping right now because there's just not much that can be done around that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the next even 2 weeks, I think there could be a big difference now that things are starting to reopen. And obviously in China, the virus has been like a non-issue for a while now. But the thing is, so many of these countries need all this personal protection equipment that everything that's not coronavirus related is just getting put on the back burner kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, I'd still say Zendrop would be the best solution right now.
Yeah. And Zendrop does it give it faster shipping? I was wondering if you could explain a little more.
Zendrop does have an expedited shipping option.
Hmm.
Even with the expedited shipping right now, it's still going to be on the slower side. So before the virus, I think with expedited shipping, it was like 6 to 10 days or something like that, which from China is like incredibly fast. And obviously, if your customer orders a product and it gets there in 6 days, they're not even going to realize it came from China.
Hmm.
But with and don't quote me on those numbers. That's just what I recall. But with the virus, I think it's still at least like probably even more, probably like 14 to 20 days or something with the
Yeah.
expedited.
So it's
And
ranging.
there's really no way around that like right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, it's better than, the 60 days, which I'm seeing like some of the other
60 days is definitely
listings,
not should
right?
not be an option at any point.
Yeah.
No, that's not
Yeah.
going to work.
So for the audience listening, I mean, don't start drop shipping products and only have, 60-day shipping.
No,
Because your
that's a recipe
customer,
for failure.
yeah, your customer's gonna get really upset. Facebook's gonna cancel your ad account. And actually, let's even talk about that, which was the fourth step. You said Facebook ads, which is really good. And I had that question. It's just like, who would you recommend, as far as, watching on YouTube for
On
Facebook ads?
YouTube, that's a good question. I'd say, I mean, there's so many good channels out there, but just off the top of my head, I really like Tanner Plain's videos. He does a really good job. Hayden Bowles does a really good job. Ari Sherson does a really good job. Scott Hillsey does a really good job. I mean, these are just off the top of my head. There's so many great videos out there. I would say don't even focus on who's making the videos. Just focus on the specific concepts you're trying to learn. So don't just Google or don't just search on YouTube like Facebook ads. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe for the first couple of videos do that just so you can get a backbone like idea of how everything works. But once you
Yeah.
start playing around with ads and testing stuff and specific things are working and specific things aren't working, you're gonna have more specific questions to look up. So rather than just looking up like Tanner Plain's Facebook ads video, look up on YouTube the exact problem you're dealing with on Facebook. There's probably 10 videos made about that specific issue you're having because everyone is making so many videos about Facebook ads on YouTube that odds are that there's gonna be multiple videos from multiple YouTubers that are teaching exactly what you're trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, really good point for sure. Yeah, those are those are some good recommendations. And there were some questions that came in. So we see a question from Edwin Alex. He said, "Is it too late to get in the game of drop shipping?"
It's definitely not too late. I mean, if anything, this is the perfect time. Like we were saying before, so many advertisers, big advertisers, like not even e-commerce companies, like big companies had been forced to pull so much spend out of Facebook that it's literally, for the first time in however many years, the CPMs have been declining, which basically means you could reach a greater amount of people on Facebook for cheaper than ever. So it's definitely not too late. Obviously, there's still a lot you have to learn. It's not going to be easy ever, but it's easier than it was 4 months ago, which is, if you were looking for the right time to start, this is definitely it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I see another comment came in. It wasn't a question, but Strawberry Baby said he's cute and has some eyes like a. So you got a compliment there.
Oh, thank you, Strawberry Baby.
All right, that's good stuff. So yeah, I'd say drop your questions in if you're listening live, and we're going to continue on with the conversation. One of the things that had me curious. So, are you still doing more in the automation, drop shipping automation as a service?
100%. Yeah. So that's definitely more of a high ticket service for people who it's usually our typical client for the automations are usually people who've made a lot of money doing whatever else they do, just not e-commerce. So, but regardless, it could be from a job, it could be from real estate investing, whatever people do to make money, that just want another revenue stream. Obviously, a fiscally responsible human being is trying to get as many revenue streams as they can, putting money in their bank account. So, those packages usually start around $15,000, and we build out an entire store for you. We use everything that my team uses to make the store. So we have we actually do have access to some designers that do help us with the sites, and we do have people who do custom content for all the products and stuff like that. And then so we build you a really nice store. Exactly how we build ours, we use the same fulfillment resources that we use for our stores. We get it all set up. We set up customer service. We kind of just like, it's called an automation because we kind of just like automate all that stuff for you. And then on top of that, we run ads for a period usually between 2 to 7 months, where I'm like physically running the ads myself, like literally sitting right here, doing the ads and basically scaling the store for you, while we're handling all the fulfillment, customer service, and everything. And then basically after, let's say you do a 3-month package, after 3 months, we give you the store, and you own the store the whole time, like it's your store. But after the 3 months, we give you the store. We hand everything off to you. We teach you how to manage the customer service, even though it's pretty much hands off at that point. And then we even teach you how to keep the ads running, so you could obviously continue to make money, because it does take some upkeep. But basically, we call it an automation because by the time we hand it to you, pretty much everything should be as automated as possible. The whole point of it is so that it's very hands off. That's why it's a high ticket service. It's like very hands off for you. You kind of just invest money, and then we handle everything and create this additional revenue stream for you. And then once it's done and we hand it off to you, although you do have to do some upkeep, it's really not much, and it's kind of just another asset that you have that's just making you money.
That's awesome. And what are the kind of clients that you work with? Is it already established drop shippers or newbies?
Never.
Or
No,
both?
it's usually people who have no experience with anything e-commerce related. So our first client was someone who worked for this big consulting company, and he just he heard about e-commerce. He really liked the concept of it. He found me on Instagram or something, and then we ended up talking. He actually lived in Sydney, and I flew out to Sydney, and we had some meetings together, and then we ended up building a website for him. And then another client that we just recently started working with, who's actually his store is crushing it right now, which was just another reason for me to like really try to convince people that right now is the time to start. But he was a student at University of Miami, which is the school I dropped out of, and he like does a ton of real estate investing, and he heard about the automation service and just wanted another revenue stream, and he invested with us, and his store is doing really, really well right now. So that was really cool to see.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. And one question, I think there was a question that came in, and they are asking, they thought Hayden Bowles, you mentioned his name, was a scam. I remember catching his name on Baller Busters.
Yeah, I
was
don't
wondering
really
if you could speak to that.
I definitely would. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a scam. Like, I don't know what he's done as far as like selling courses or whatever, like, services that he's done. What I do know is that he does know Facebook ads very well, and he has YouTube videos that teach Facebook ads. So regardless of, I mean, I would say he's not a scam, but I really haven't, I've never bought any services from him, so I can't say anything concrete.
Yeah.
But what I do know for sure is that he's a really smart kid. I've met with him. He's a really nice kid too, so I doubt he would do anything bad like that. But he's a really smart kid, and he does know Facebook ads really well. He has a great YouTube channel. So regardless of anything, he's a great place to learn for free from. I mean, you can't get scammed
on YouTube. Yeah. And yeah, that goes to show, proof point. Cause like, even for me, like I kind of lean on baller busters to help, vet guests that I bring on the podcast.
Right.
But even then, like, I mean, I have no control about what they do, as far as offering services and mentorship. And say if somebody's, business, dealings goes wrong with a particular person, we have no, no control or responsibility for what people do. But yeah, I would say the way you worded it, which is like, okay, he's dropping knowledge on YouTube and he's knowledgeable about the topic. But as far as what individual dealings that are being pointed out on like baller busters or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, I'm just not going to say either way, just because I never, I never bought a course or whatever from him. So
no, I totally understand, and hopefully the audience does as well. Which is that okay? I mean, we can only know people so much, and then not really know what they may be doing elsewhere. But really good stuff. So we got some other questions coming in. I'm pulling them up here. So Strawberry Baby, who gave you a compliment, now had a question.
Okay.
It said, how do you circumvent the lack of funds when wanting to start drop shipping?
Well, I mean, cash flow can definitely become an issue, and is kind of an ongoing issue. I think this is what she's asking. But like, there's obviously money coming in and money going out, because your expenses have to be paid off immediately, and the money doesn't always come in immediately, because not every payment processor usually has a few days before the money actually reaches your bank account. On top of that, there's usually rolling reserves, which hold the money, and sometimes they could lock up more than a rolling reserve. Like, they could do, like, put a full hold on your account, which obviously will create a cash flow issue. Honestly, there's no great solution to it. I would just say, like, play it on the safe side. Like, only spend low budgets at first. Keep reinvesting your profits. Let it kind of snowball into bigger and bigger money. Eventually, if you keep reinvesting profits, and the system continues to work, you're going to have a decent amount of cash saved up, and it shouldn't be an issue moving forward. If you were to get some sort of hold on your payment processor account, or your PayPal gets shut down, which happens to so many people, if you have enough, if you just keep reinvesting your profits, and putting a little bit aside, you should have enough cash sitting around that if something were to get locked up, that you should still be able to at least pay off your bills. Maybe you won't have enough. Maybe you won't have like the profits directly in your hands at the time, because those might get stuck in a reserve, but at least you should have enough to be able to pay off your bills, so you don't obviously have to like take out a loan or anything.
Yeah. No, really good. We have a couple more questions. We'll start grabbing them, which is, so this is from Facebook. Have you tried no interest ad sets?
Yes. So I'm a huge fan of no interest ad sets. I would honestly say, like, I manage probably about $3,000 to $5,000. Like, right now, it's always changing, but maybe like $3,000 to $5,000 of daily ad spend on Facebook right now. I would say probably around 50% of that is no interest. Is a no interest ad.
Wow.
Right now, a huge trend that I've been seeing with Facebook is that the algorithm is getting really good at finding customers. And when I first started learning Facebook ads, everyone was teaching the method of, target really narrow, find the customers yourself, never click the expand interest box at the ad set level when you're creating an ad. That was like kind of the mentality at the time, and that was working back then. Right now, I like to make my audiences as broad as possible, especially once you're already getting purchases on an ad account, because optimization happens on the ad account level as well as the ad set level. So if an ad account is already getting purchases for a product, it already is, the ad account can optimize and understand who your customers are. So if you were running a bunch of lookalikes or detailed targeting ad sets, and they were starting to get some purchases, and starting to be more consistent. If you were to launch a no interest campaign, like whether it be US no interest, worldwide no interest, whatever, wherever your audience is, if you were to launch one on the same ad account, it would most likely outperform a lot of the other ads you're running, just because it's super broad. So Facebook can put the spend wherever Facebook wants, and Facebook is getting really, really good at spending that money effectively. So I really definitely recommend, once I wouldn't launch a brand new store on a brand new ad account, the first ad being a no interest ad. But once you are getting somewhat consistent purchases, it's a great way to scale.
Wow. Yeah, really good tip and strategy too. Yeah, I've been hearing that, from other people as well. And thanks for asking that question, which is that yeah, it seems to be that the machine learning AI is getting smarter, and it's only going to get better and better as time goes on, which is cool. But I like the strategy that you mentioned that okay, you can almost do both. First you're kind of testing it out to find that you're getting some traction, getting some sales, and then now put this no interest next to it and see how it does.
Exactly. Yeah.
And your bet is that it's going to do better.
It always does well. It always does well. If you have an ad
Yeah.
set, target, like, and you have a custom audience on the ad set, and let's say you're targeting just the United States or whatever, certain age range, if you just take the custom audience out and put that in a different ad set, maybe even a little higher budget, so Facebook could test around the audience quicker, since it's such a large audience, it usually outperforms. Obviously not 100% of the time, but that's definitely how it's been working for me recently.
So we got a question from YouTube. S5 or SS5 says, is making a brand the future?
I mean, making a brand is the past, present, and future. I would say with any business, the goal should always be to build a brand. With dropshipping, you don't really have to, which is what's cool about dropshipping. You could honestly just create a website and run. If you're doing a good job running ads, you could just drive traffic to the website, and make sales and profit off of it, which is what's so interesting about dropshipping. But obviously, if you do create a brand out of it, then you have a valuable asset that you're working with, and you can make money from so many other streams. And you could also sell the brand. And if you did a good job and you have consistent numbers over a long period of time, you can sell the brand for a ton and make a ton of money off of that. So a brand is definitely, has always been and will always continue to be a better business model. But what's cool about dropshipping is you don't have to build a brand, and you could still make money. And it's cheaper to not build a brand. But if you're selling a product and it's doing really well and you're making a lot of money, I would definitely suggest starting to build a brand around it, because if you're already making money off of it, there's no reason not to reinvest that money into something that could be more long term.
Really good. He had a follow up question, and I'm not sure if I understand it, but I'll try to read it, see if you can
All
make
right.
sense out of it. It says, I'm making a product that's better than customers and innovative. How do I combat $1 billion companies, but they have terrible marketing and advertising? I'm not sure if I
I mean,
understand.
I think what he's saying is, I think what he's saying is that he's like selling a product that's similar to really big companies that are selling the similar, or he's selling a product that's similar to what other big companies have already been selling, but he says his is better. How does he compete with them if their marketing is bad? I mean,
Yeah.
if your product is better, then you don't even need to worry. Like, I think a lot of people forget that if you really have a better product, the market reacts accordingly. So like if you really did build something better, then once the word gets out, like it's easy to market things that are great, because it's fully transparent. There's no gimmicks or anything to try to get people to purchase. If people really love a product, they come back and they buy it again. They tell their friends about it. You run an ad and all the comments are like, "Oh, I love this! I love this! I love this!" And people are talking about it, sending it to each other, sharing it on their Facebook page, and it's just easy to market a really good product. So, assuming that is the question you're asking, if you really do have a better product, it should be pretty easy to market.
And I'm sorry. All right. Had to connect the We are live, folks, and I had to connect the phone that I have on Instagram. The battery
Okay.
was going low on me here. So this is live. We're multiple recordings going on here, and really cool stuff. But yeah, those are good questions that came in, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing time that we're dealing with. And let me see what other questions that we have here. Yeah, he was saying customers, not competitors. Sorry. We have one other question. Would you still use influencers or only paid traffic? That's from Andreas.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely still use influencers. It's really a case by case basis. Like there's some, I would say influencer marketing right now, obviously you can still use it to drive direct conversions. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but one thing that's really cool about using influencers is if you are building a brand, that it just puts credibility behind the brand. Because if there's, whatever influencer wearing, let's say it's a clothing brand and this influencer is wearing your shirt, that just, and customers see that, or potential customers see that, that are considering buying your product, and maybe they look up to that influencer, even though that might not get them to buy right then. It just, puts in the back of their mind that this is a credible brand. Whatever influencer is wearing this, maybe down the road when they get hit by a Facebook ad, for the same product that they saw an influencer wearing previously, they're going to be significantly more likely to buy because they already know that it's from a credible brand, that someone that they look up to was already, it was already wearing the same product. So although influencer, I feel like people think of influencer marketing as, oh, I spent $200 for this shout out on this Instagram page and I didn't generate, $600 in sales, so it wasn't profitable. Like influencer marketing doesn't work. And there's so much, influencer marketing is so much bigger than that. Obviously if you're using, if you're working with like a person as an influencer, not just like a meme page on Instagram, that can build credibility from so many different, angles. And you could also use whatever pieces of content that the influencer has with your product and use that for a paid traffic ad, I've worked with some pretty big influencers in the past on some products. And, I've worked with influencers before that their name is an interest on Facebook. So I'll literally just get the ad, the pieces of content that they filmed with my product, and I'll use that as an ad on Facebook and just target their fans, which is already a predetermined audience on Facebook in detailed targeting. And that always converts really well, obviously, because it's literally just a video of the influencer, and you're literally targeting his or her fans. So there's a lot of different approaches, to influencer marketing. It definitely is still effective. It will always be effective. But I don't want people to just think of it as like I'm spending X amount of money and making back X amount in the same day, and that's all an influencer is. There's definitely a lot more to it than that.
Uh-huh. I'm, I'm laughing because I'm reading the live comments that are coming in, and this is
Yeah.
it's great. But what Andres is asking, how would you get market sex toys on Shopify?
How would I market them?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I'm assuming that Facebook won't allow ads for that. Actually,
Hmm.
Facebook will definitely not allow ads for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other advertising platforms out there. Like there's a Traffic Junkie, which can put you on Pornhub, which would probably be the correct audience for products like that. And also, Traffic Junkie will allow you to put anything in an ad. There's no like filtering or anything. You could have like complete nudity, and it's totally fine. So I would
Oh
say
God.
probably Traffic Junkie is where I would start. There's also like Taboola, which gets you, on like different, like when you're scrolling through articles on the internet, they have like ads in the middle of those. You could use
Yeah.
Taboola, for that, but definitely not Facebook.
Wow. Yeah, these are some wide-ranging questions for sure, but it's pretty funny. Yeah, man. I tell you, there's a lot of things. Back to the automation service. So how do people find out about that?
If people are interested, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, and we can go over some of the details. And if you're very serious, we'll get on the phone, and we'll go. We'll talk about it. Like if you're ever around Miami, I always like to meet with my automation clients, in person. Again, it's like a high ticket service. I don't do a lot of them, so
Hmm.
like I always have like a close relationship with the clients that we work with. But yeah, I would say just DM me on Instagram, and if you're a right fit, like we can move forward from there.
Okay, cool. And your tag name, I'll let you mention it.
My Instagram,
Yeah.
Noah Tuck, Noatek.
Cool. So Noah Tuck, and if you're watching the live stream, we actually have it showing on the right hand side. So Noah Tuck, and yeah, really cool stuff. And yeah, this is just great, man. I tell you that there's so many things. I'm actually curious. Like, are there any new tools that you're working with related to like data gathering or things like that that's happened over the past few months?
Not really. I mean, Facebook, like again, Facebook has been getting so good at finding customers for you that I kind of have been like, if anything, more hands off with my ads, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely not going crazy with like finding very small audiences, I'm still using lookalike audiences and stuff to target, and I'll always import my email lists from my stores
Mm-hmm.
and use that data. But I'm not using any sort of fancy tools or anything. I don't really see a need.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what about related to research? Like I remember we talked about I like the market research conversation that we had. Has there been anything there as far as keeping up with the trends and stuff?
It's definitely the same thing, but it's I mean I'm not positive, but I'm assuming what I talked about in the previous podcast about that was just literally listening to people's conversations, because that is what I do most of the time. People are always talking, especially now with the virus. Like there's so many new products that people are interested in that they weren't interested in the past. Like especially like home workout equipment is like such a great example, because everyone was just going to the gym before this, and now everyone is panicking to work out and doing 50 push-ups and then tagging 4 friends in their Instagram story to do another 50 push-ups, and like nobody actually has any real good home workout equipment. So people are talking about stuff like that, and people are talking about other cool products. So I literally just listen to conversations, not just in person though, like even like trending things on Twitter. TikTok is a great place to find products. People are always posting cool products that they bought online on TikTok. And it's not even ads I'm talking about. I'm talking about people literally just like posting stuff on TikTok saying like, oh, like these lights that I got in my room look really cool, like stuff like that. You kind of just have to see what people are interested in, and it always is changing with different trends. But right now with the virus, there's like a ton of new ones that are coming up.
So we got a question from A Phoenix on YouTube. He's saying, "Is Facebook your only ad source, or do you use multiple ad sources? And if so, what are they?"
So we do use multiple ad sources, but Facebook is the one that I'm in charge of. So we do sometimes run Google ads, and we've messed around with Taboola a little bit, but Facebook is the only one that I'm like hands-on running. Yeah.
Okay. And Strawberry Baby had a question on YouTube saying, "What's the going rate for the automation service?"
Packages start at $15,000, and it basically just depends on how long you want to manage the ads for. So, like I was saying, like we do it as little as like usually like 2 or 3 months would be on the smaller end, and then up to I mean, we could really figure out something custom for everyone, I guess, but usually up to like 6 months max, we'll run ads for you. So depending on how long you want it to be like fully in charge of managing everything is how expensive it will be, but the cheapest is definitely 15,000.
And Phoenix had a follow-up question for how long should I wait before using CBOs on a new store?
So that's a good question. So CBOs, in my opinion, are really just a great tool to scale. It's not really a great tool for testing. So when I'm testing ads, if I'm testing a bunch of different audiences, let's say I'd like to have, I want to make sure that each audience is spending the exact same amount so that I know if one's performing better than another. It's because you don't want to have, it's when you're testing anything really, you only want there to be one variable that's being changed. And if it's the audience that you're changing, then the spend has to be the same. If it's the spend that you're testing, then the audience would have to be the same. So if you're testing ads and you're trying to find, like maybe interests that are working really well or a lookalike audience that's going to perform really well, you want everything else to be the same. So that includes spend. So a CBO, I would say once you start seeing ads that are performing well, let's say you're testing, for example, you're testing a new product and you create 20 ad sets at $10 a day each, and you put them all, you launch them all at once. After maybe 3 or 4 days, some of them are going to be significantly outperforming the others. And at that point, maybe you could take like the top 5 from that campaign and then duplicate that into a new campaign and put that campaign as a CBO at a slightly higher budget. So all the ad sets will be spending more, and also Facebook will only be distributing the spend amongst ad sets that we already know are performing well, rather than having it, test ad sets that maybe weren't doing well, but maybe a bad ad set got one purchase of Facebook, puts too much spend into it. But you don't want that to happen in the testing phase, because it could kind of like mess up all the data.
That's really good. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. No thanks, Jeff from Instagram said, have you noticed if Facebook sends you bad traffic if your page gets a low score?
So I wouldn't say so. If your page gets a low score, what Facebook does is it increases the CPM. So it just makes it more expensive for you to reach the same audience that you are already targeting. So let's say it's just they do that just because it's almost like a punishment, and they want you to get your score higher, and then they'll make it cheaper again. So I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say they send you bad traffic, but they definitely make it more expensive to reach the same amount of people, which definitely will, hurt all of your results. So let's say your cost per purchase was $5, and maybe now that your page score dropped to whatever it is, I think it might be like below 2 that they start doing this. Now it's your cost per purchase might be $6, and it's not because the traffic is different. It's because the CPMs are different, which is literally just Facebook choosing how much you're going to pay to reach the same audience as a punishment.
And as a follow-up question, like what's a way to improve on the page score?
It's really just customer experience, which is obviously really hard right now with the shipping times. If you are drop shipping, like it's tough. Here's something that I've been doing that's been helping. I've been creating email flows that I call like proactive customer service emails. So basically, I know shipping times are slow right now, and I know that could really hurt my Facebook page score, as well as a number of other things that could affect. So what I do is I set up like an email to send to customers like 3 days after they purchase, 5 days after they purchase, and maybe even another like a week and a half or something after they purchase, literally saying like how much we appreciate them as a customer, how thankful we are that they trusted our brand. Like, thank you so much for shopping with us. Just a friendly reminder, shipping times are a little slow right now. Our number one priority is to keep our customers and employees safe. So we've been bringing like less people have been at the warehouses shipping out orders or whatever, at the factories, manufacturing. So customers are usually pretty understanding when you do something like that. They like to know that you didn't forget about them. So if you just are automatically sending them those emails, a few times after they purchase, they're not going to feel like you just took their money and abandoned them, which is really what they're scared of, is that like they're never going to receive their product. And it's sometimes tough for them to understand that they are going to receive the product. It's just going to take a little longer than they were expecting. But if you are constantly reminding them and sending them emails of how appreciative you are of their business and how much they mean to you, and that, the product's on the way, they just want to make sure all their employees and customers stay safe with the virus, that usually handles all the issues.
Yeah, I like that. Like proactive customer service.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to keep your customers happy, folks. Take care of your customers. You're running a business, and if you want to be in business for the long term, it's really important. Really important. Well, this is great stuff for sure. I mean, I think you dropped a lot of value here. A lot of the people that are dropping questions, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. So I would say, let's for the audience, maybe you could leave some closing remarks.
Sure. I mean, again, I'd say the name of the game right now is definitely, right now is, again, the greatest time to start, just because of how much CPMs have been decreasing. So don't take that for granted. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I've never seen such a steady decrease in CPMs, and it probably will never happen again. So if you are a beginner just getting started, this is like, I'm telling you for sure, this is the time to do it. Facebook ads are literally the cheapest that they've been in a while. And it really might not even last another month. Who knows? Like, everything is starting to reopen now. And businesses are going to start putting their spend back. Big businesses are going to start putting their spend back on Facebook. So right now is definitely the time to get started. And like, you could like put my Instagram somewhere. Definitely DM me if you have any more questions. I always look through my DMs, and I'm happy to help you guys. But yeah, like right now is a crazy, so many crazy things are happening with the virus, and it's so easy to get caught up in all the negatives of it. But as an e-commerce entrepreneur, there's a lot of positives to this virus. So try to focus on the positives, and don't get too like caught up in not being able to go out. Use being stuck at home as an excuse to get more work done, and use the low CPMs as an excuse to get more ads up and stuff like that. So yeah, right now is definitely the time to get started, and feel free to DM me with any more questions.
Really great stuff. Well, thanks, Noah. We appreciate having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, so I just stopped the Zoom recording, but we're still streaming live. So for you guys that are on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, thanks for chiming in with your questions. There's people on YouTube. They're saying, "Wait, please answer quickly." S5, what's your quick question? If you got a quick question, we can you could drop it in real quick. And what did he say here? What's your question, SS5? Let's see if he types it in there. But I've also noticed in the stream there's like maybe like a 5-second delay or something like that.
Okay.
And he said, "What is networking like in Los Angeles?"
What is networking like in Los Angeles?
Yeah, but you had mentioned you're living and based out of Florida,
I live,
Miami,
I live in
right?
Miami. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have been to LA a number of times. There's a
Uh
lot of cool. There's a lot of cool people there.
huh.
I have some friends that live there that I do business with. I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
know what the question means.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, well, I would say to the audience catching us live, we got Instagram right here. I'll raise the phone. I had to plug in because my phone was like actually
Okay.
unplugging. Eduardo saying, how do you properly split test FB ad creatives? Okay, Eduardo, he just asked.
Ad creatives. How do you split
Yeah.
test them? So honestly, instead of even split testing them, what I've been doing is basically just putting multiple creatives under the same ad set, and Facebook will kind of split test them for you. And then once one outperforms the rest, Facebook will just automatically put all of the spend in that, like with that ad set, into that one creative. Which is another example of just Facebook getting really good at optimizing for you without you having to test things manually. So I would say if you have multiple creatives you want to test under the same audience, just put them all under the same ad set. You can put a ton of creatives under one ad set, and Facebook will start by putting spend in each of them, and then once it finds a clear one that's outperforming the others, it'll just stop spending in the weaker ones altogether.
And we got a quick question from Daniel Tavares on YouTube. Said the best way you test products. Is that a question, or is he asking what is the best way to test products? That's all I see there.
Okay.
He's saying, is that Daniel? I'd say right. What's the best way to test a products quick? How to test products quick? He's asking.
I mean, testing products, yeah, it doesn't really take that long. I mean, I usually just create, a few creatives, and then I'll create probably like 20 to 30 ad sets. I'll usually put them at like $15 a day, but you could always do it at lower budgets. You could do less ad sets too. And I'll usually target the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll target more of Europe too when I'm testing, but it doesn't really matter too much. And then basically just I'll do a lot of single interest ad sets, and I'll always keep the expand interest box checked because again, Facebook's getting really good at finding customers that we can't find.
Mm-hmm.
And then if some of the ad sets are showing really profitable numbers, like after a couple of days, I'll start turning off the ones that aren't performing well, and maybe increasing the budget of the ones that are performing well. Let's say from $15 to $20, and then you'll usually be able to tell within like 4 to 5 days if none of the ad sets are doing well, then it's either not a winning product or something's wrong in your funnel or your ad. And by wrong, I just mean it isn't good. I guess there's no really right or wrong, but and if some of the ad sets are showing a lot of promise, then I'll just start making similar ad sets to those. Start scaling back or turning off the ad sets that aren't performing well, and working from there.
Awesome, really good. Well, we're gonna make it an end here, guys, because I'm seeing more questions come in, but we're gonna end it off here so we can be respectful of
Yeah, they could all
Noah's
DM me on
time.
Instagram too if they have
DM,
more questions.
yeah, be sure to follow and DM Noah. It's Noah Noatuck. And then if you're catching this on YouTube, whatever, be sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. But we're gonna end the live stream here. So on YouTube and Facebook Everybody on the desktop live stream, we'll see you later. And for Instagram, we'll say bye to Instagram as well.